Well, thanks, Tonya. It's a privilege to be part of this conversation, but we all need to be. So let's have some audience participation. Okay, I invite you all to relax and close your eyes. Bring to mind your perfect partner, your heart's desire, and hold that image. Keep it to yourself, because what turns you on is, after all, an entirely private matter. Now I want you to imagine who you couldn't possibly be physically attracted to because of their sex. Imagine being told that you need to work on broadening your sexual preference to be all-encompassing. Open your eyes. Conversion therapy, right? As a lesbian, if you fail to broaden up, you're branded as a sexual racist by the CEO of the organisation set up originally to advocate for those who share your sexual orientation. In fact, the name that you've used for centuries to describe yourself is now being used to mean something entirely different. And that's where lesbians are at, hence Lesbian Labour. Now, if you are secure and can hold your own, like Anne Lister in 1821, you may respond eloquently with, "I love and only love the fairer sex, and thus beloved by them in turn, my heart revolts from any love but theirs." You may be affronted, dismiss it all as nonsense, or, God forbid, be offended. But you will carry on loving who you love, regardless. But imagine you're a young, gender non-conforming teenage girl, struggling through puberty, desperate to escape the hypersexualisation and hyperfeminisation all around you. Perhaps you identify as non-binary. A breathing space. Or perhaps you reject the mighty phallus and declare that you're a lesbian. Off you go to a shiny, fun, well-funded queer or LGBT WTF youth group. For those who are different, home at last. You say, you fancy girls. They ask you, are you sure you're not actually a boy trapped in a girl's body? Normal people hook up with the opposite sex. Well, judging by the number of lesbians transitioning, this clearly has an impact. In Iran, the normalising of homosexuals through gender reassignment is state-funded standard practice. If you stick to your guns, you get the sexual racist treatment, pressured to accept male bodies into your dating pool, and told you're transphobic if you don't. That's corrective rape. Lesbophobia, the modern-day version of, here, you're not a lesbian, all you need's a good shag. To those young women, we say, a lesbian is an exclusively same-sex attracted adult human female, and we don't do dick. We're also protected under the Equality Act on the basis of sexual orientation. The fact is, gender identity and sexual orientation are two completely separate things. They've never been comfortable bedfellows. Forced teaming isn't working. So please, all of you, stop using the meaningless, ever-expanding acronym which just allows you to tick-box your way through your diversity requirements. Be a good ally. Address each group by name and learn about our individual realities. Now that is the reality for lesbians. So has Labour got the answer? Well, is Labour losing women? Yes. Is Labour losing lesbians? Double yes. So what did they need to do to get the lesbian vote? I'd say listen and consult. Consult directly, though, not through LGBT plus Labour, who refused to meet with us because, I quote from their letter, "Your public priorities reflect the priorities of only a negligible proportion of lesbians in Labour." Since same-sex attracted lesbians are never included in LGBT plus group consultations, I can see where they get that idea from. We all have to pretend that we're one big, happy, ever-expanding, inclusive rainbow family. Well, we're not. We have the right to organise autonomously as lesbians in separate spaces in the time-honoured Labour movement tradition of caucuses. Spending time with others, defining your priorities, is not only essential for good mental health, but for overcoming power dynamics which exist between different groups. There's nothing wrong with organising around any other commonality either. LGB groups or Labour trans equality. Caucuses are by their very nature exclusive, and that's okay. But lesbian-only spaces are fast disappearing, taken over by, I'm going to say this, male lesbians. Now, you cannot surgically remove male advantage, entitlement, or privilege. Hormones may decrease testosterone levels, but they do not reduce learned behaviour from lived experience growing up as a man in a man's world. So no thank you, Stonewall and Co, for rewriting our sexual boundaries. We will keep them. Lesbians are, I repeat, exclusively same-sex attracted adult human females. So say the negligible portion of lesbians in the ever-expanding secret safe lesbian networks who I asked, what do we need from a Labour Manifesto? Well, I'm going to post all the answers I got, and I got loads, on Lesbian Labour. But for now, I wanted to share some highlights, because these came in from all over the world, and I mean all over the world. Val in Buckingham, because we're being watched, you know, Labour's being watched. We are the biggest party in Europe, aren't we? Still, I don't know how. Anyway, Val in Buckingham says, policy, laws and manifestos are made up of words. Words matter. Use the correct ones. Define your terms. Carol in Derby asks for an absolute commitment to maintaining sex, not gender, in all definitions, especially the rule book, in order to ensure that sexual orientation remains a protected characteristic. Hannah in Lancaster asks, where is the impact assessment on how self-ID would affect lesbians? Be honest, only a woman is an adult human female, and that men are not and cannot be lesbians, writes Julie in Leeds. No lesbian is born with a penis, clarifies Amy in Norwich. Jill in Todmorden wants to see an end to revisionism and the queering of lesbian and gay history. Stop the transing of lesbians. Chloe in London wants an acknowledgement that exclusive same-sex attraction is not transphobic, and that to suggest otherwise is, in fact, incredibly homophobic. Mary in Cornwall, I like this one, suggests the party stop shunning Lesbian Labour and LGB Alliance. Lynn in Bristol was one of several respondents wanting a firm commitment to getting gender ideology out of schools. Kate in London asks when Labour will become progressive again in supporting LGB rights and stop the regressive messaging that lesbians must accept men. She implores, start showing you care about all the children and young people likely to grow up LGB whose lives are being ruined by a cruel and nonsensical ideology. Listen to Hilary Cass. In Scotland, Sally wants the right to be heard for any lesbian who considers herself same-sex rather than same-gender attracted, whilst Kate advises, very importantly, Scottish Labour would gain massive votes by being reasonable about sex-based rights. Meanwhile, in Wales, Sarah from Swansea, and they're living under a Labour administration, writes, Mark Drakeford, arguably the most powerful elected Labour politician in the UK, has failed to consult with lesbians, making a farce of promises to honour and listen to every voice. Now, Rosa, another negligible lesbian from Malta, where self-ID is already law, took the trouble to send this heartfelt warning. We can no longer have lesbian-only spaces. Young lesbians who are not feminine are being brainwashed and told that they're men, with the unnecessary hormones and surgery that comes with it. Those who regret it are too scared to speak. Tell them how young lesbians no longer know what a lesbian is because they're taught to include men. Tell them that this is lesbian erasure. It's conversion therapy. Conform to stereotypes or you will be made to. Please do not make this mistake in the UK. And last night, I asked her how to pronounce a name, and she sent me a voice message. If I could broadcast it, you'd all be in tears. She said, thank you for doing this. Obviously, with the fines and laws here, we risk being sent to prison just for using the correct sex. So many people are therefore not willing to speak up. Now, of course, a manifesto needs to convince the electorate. to get Labour into government. Is this an election issue? Yes, it is. So if anyone who might be listening wants the lesbian vote, Ruth from Rill has this advice to offer. Welcome us to the movement for a just society, and with all our experiences and skills, we might just vote for you. Thank you.